classify us as any denomination. And so I just want to clarify that point. And, oh, now it comes up. I know. But I think we need to be careful how we say some things, because what we understand, the world does not. And if we get lazy in our speech and what we say and what we mean, they don't understand us. And that's the reason why, when I talk with others, I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong. I'm just saying I am not wrong. Now, you interpret what you want from that. I just know that everything that I read in the Bible is the truth. And that's what I want to follow. You show me where I'm doing something wrong right now, and I'll be out of this building and nothing flat. I will go where the truth is being taught. And I think every one of us here, same way. Everything we know, we read, God gave it. And we have interpreted it, and to the best of our knowledge, we are right. And that's the way I look at it. Now, some of the things that are a little difficult, in chapter 1, we should not boast in our wisdom. That's what he concludes. Let him who boasts, boast in the Lord. But man typically is a very pride-centered, arrogant, insolent type person. I think we all feel that. We're proud of who we are, what we've accomplished, what we've done. When we were little kids, who did you aspire to be? Like your parents. Guys typically wanted to be like their dad because they viewed him as successful and right. Girls typically with their mom. Now, when we look at that, that seems right and that seems proper, but then as Christians, we should aspire to be like God, like Jesus. And we have that disconnect. All through the Old Testament, all kinds of things happen. David was told to go and get the ark from the Philistines. And we all know that there's only one way that the ark was supposed to be transported. It had to come from the tribe of Levi. It was supposed to be carried by poles, put through the staves on the side. And what did David do? He built a brand new wagon. Brand new. Sent it over. They picked it up, put it on the wagon, and we're bringing it back. Now, who was it? Uzzah. I think any one of us would have been, if we'd been walking right beside the cart and see that it stumbled and hit a rock in the road and the ark was going to fall off, we'd reach up and stop it from falling off, because that is precious to the Jewish nation, right? I think every one of us would have done that. And what was his reward for preventing that from falling off? Death. That seems very, 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 very harsh to me. But that sort of tells you that God's way is the only way, period. Okay? Then you take a look at Moses. Back when Moses, when he had the Jews out there in the wilderness, they were getting attacked by all these venomous snakes. Now, what did God tell him to do? Put a fiery serpent on a pole, put it in the middle of the camp. Now, if you get bit, look at it and you'll be okay. That seems so crazy and stupid. Look at a pole. It just doesn't, it flies in the face of reasoning. Then you go, and when they were attacking Jericho, what were they told to do? March around once a day for 6 days. On the seventh day, march around 7 times, then the 7 priests would blow the 7 horns. People give a great shout, and the walls came tumbling down. having spent 22 years in the Army and studying tactics and stuff like this, that is the most craziest idea I can imagine. There's no way, you tell me a plan like that as a plan of attack for defeating an enemy, I would laugh. And I think we all would. But it worked. It did it. Then you take a look at Naaman the leper. He was told to dip 7 times in the river. He didn't want to do it, did he? He thought that was beneath him. Jesus spit on the clay, put it on the blind man, and said, go wash in the waters of Siloam. Now, Jesus could have just spoke the word and the guy would have been healed. But why did he do that? God's way is different from our way. So we should boast in the Lord, right? But we don't understand what his mind is thinking. How do we understand what his mind is? We have to take a look at it in a lot of different ways. That's the reason why we have preachers. Way back when, what was the order of worship? When the original Church of Christ back in Corinth started, what did they do when they assembled together? What was their reason for assembling together? To break bread. That was the reason. Did they have preachers? Yeah. Paul preached. Apollos preached. And Peter preached. Cephas, however you pronounce it. So they did have preaching, teaching going on. Now, I have been involved in a few different places where they had these revival meetings or apple orchard type tent meetings, and the guy come in. And I remember one real vividly. The guy was telling us about he didn't like having divided groups for Bible study. That sort of, that really threw me for a loop because I've always been used to it. Why do we have different groups for Bible study? Do you think that the original church did? And that's what he was saying. No, they didn't. They were all in one big meeting room, somebody's home, and so everybody was getting the same lesson. Why do we break it down? It's decent and in order. That sounds good. But here's where I'm saying that we need to be careful. Is this God's plan or man's plan? We think it's pleasing to God because the little kids can't understand what we're talking about right now. They can't understand that. They would have lots of questions and be a little disruptive to us. Our attention would be divided, right? So in that sense, I understand. But I'm trying to understand, what would God think? Yeah. Yeah. Maximum. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, it's like I can understand why he would make a comment that we shouldn't have different classes. I can understand it. I don't like it necessarily. And then I'm afraid that I'm using my own mind to rationalize what I like, not what God wants. And that's what scares me the most. I agree. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree with you, and same here. Yes, right. Yes, and I think that's where I agree with what y'all are saying. Is that as a group, we are here to break bread, and our kids are here because they need to see that example that we set for them. They need to learn that. Even new babes in Christ, they understand that, and that should be our focal point. But like you said, this Bible class, this is just for our benefit. Are you required to be here? No. You want to be here. You want to try to hopefully learn something, or you know, point out my errors, or whoever's up here in front. Wait a minute, I disagree with that. And so now you got a learning situation occurring. And I think that's what we all need and want. I want somebody to point out where I am wrong, because I would welcome that. I would love that, because I'm setting my ways like you're setting your ways too. And we need to learn from one another. There is no magic answer except this book. And a lot of people misinterpret what's being said in there. I don't want to try to advocate one idea, one way of view. You have to go this way. Well, I can walk around like that. Why can't I do that? And so that's where I'm in a situation where, what does God want me to do? Not what I want to do. How can I stop myself from not doing my point of view? And I'm not here to influence. I'm just trying to get a discussion going, because every one of us has got our own ideas. And we need help in guiding which way we go. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay? Um, Last week I talked about, yes. It was always done on the first day of the week. Meeting daily, we're friends. We're neighbors. Come on over. And we sit and talk. Meeting daily and talking with one another, discussing with one another. Their Bible study, their study of what available scripture they had, is like taking a meal. And I think that's where we need to be careful when we start mincing words and dividing these words, rightly dividing the word of truth. They met weekly to partake of the bread, the communion. They met daily with each other to strengthen each other up. Yes. Well, it's just like right here where we're at. The sad part is we all live divided. We all got our own houses. We live in different areas. It's difficult to coordinate schedules. When you get off work, 4 o'clock. When you get off, 5, 6. Oh, okay. So it's a little hard for all of us to get together at a common time. Typically back in then, when the sun goes down, people were off work then. And so that's probably what they were meeting. And that's where Acts 2 and 46 was coming in. they were meeting each other because they were so hungry for more information and getting ideas from one another. Why do we invite other preachers to come in to bring fresh ideas in? Get us thinking about some things. Do we need it? Yes. It's an infusion of fresh blood, so to speak. Does that make sense? I was talking about some of these preachers that have preached, and then I also mentioned that people that are powerful, people that are wealthy, people that are noble, how many of them are in the Church of Christ? Very few. Very few. But here in the church, okay, suppose we have a member here that every week he gave $1,500 a week. Man of great means. Now, he comes up with some sort of crazy idea that this is what we ought to do now. We need to do away with these classes and only meet for worship assembly. How much weight do you think he would have in this group? Now we say that, but the thing is, if we are struggling financially and his $1,500 a week, every single week, don't we have a tendency to sort of listen to somebody like that? I agree. I agree. I know. $5. Well, I agree. That's Texas. Mhm. That's right. They th- I would say it already is because I taught there 5 years. I taught down at I taught down in South near Fairburn. I taught math for 5 years in seventh grade Bible. Yeah. Yep. The reason why I mentioned this wild example is because I have a feeling that we have a tendency to say we don't want to upset him because we need his money to continue on. Well, we really don't. But I think we all have got such weak faith in trusting God to provide that we have a tendency to listen to this guy on his crazy ideas. And I'm just throwing it out there as a thought that happens more often. Because take a look what happens with our churches. We've got churches that now they build these huge, huge buildings. They want bigger congregations. That's admirable. I applaud that. But then the next thing they do is they want to build a gym to attract. Like Jerry just got through saying, you have compromised yourself in a way. You say you're doing evangelism by inviting the community to come and play in your basketball league, volleyball league, what have you. But if you've compromised your first foundation, then you've lost all hope now. So you got these gyms being built on a lot of the campuses on TV. You have these preachers. The last hurricane that was down in Texas, you had, who was it, Olstein down in, he didn't want to have any of the refugees come into his nice clean church and dirty up his church. Now, how is that Christian? I mean, I laugh at that. Then you got a guy right here, I guess in town, Crufalo Dollar. What, he makes $1.5 million a year. He asked the congregation to buy him a $6 million jet so he can fly out and do talks. 60 million. Oh, okay. I thought I didn't read it right. I mean, how ridiculous can you be? I used to drive a bus for a retirement home, driving the people in the retirement home on Sunday afternoon trips and take them all around. I've driven on every street in Marietta and Cobb County, and so I know where some landmarks are, and I drive them by, and we'd have a good time for a couple of hours. Went up to the one church up there in Woodstock. I think it's Baptist Church. 168 handicap parking spots. That give you an idea how many people go inside that building? I've never been inside. They got 5 of them. They got 5 of them. I counted them. I drove around that place. I'm amazed when I see that. It looks pretty. You see a lot of churches being built that are these big, huge, ornate glass, gold, silver. Why do we do these things? Do you think that's pleasing to God? Who are we trying to please? Us or Him? When we're doing this, I question these guys like Olstein and Dollar, because preaching is a very dedicated profession in a way. And I hesitate to use those words. Preaching should be a passion. You should be passionate about trying to teach the Word. It's not a profession. But our preachers, they're becoming very learned. They're getting advanced degrees. And with these advanced degrees, they go off and they attack some of our strongholds, so to speak. Abilene Christian Schools, Pepperdine, Freed Harding. They're all under attack by those that want to divide. They want something that's already established, and they want it free of charge. So they'll come in and divide the congregation. So if we're not strong, we can't fight them, can we? We have got to remain strong. We have to know why we believe and do what we believe. Some of our preachers, they're afraid of driving away people by teaching the truth. There's a lot of people that are scared of the truth. And I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't mean to upset anybody. And I know Chuck doesn't either. Most of our preachers don't. But the truth has got to be taught. It's got to be heard. Hopefully, if you disagree with something, you say something. Maybe not inside the class. Maybe you can say, well, no, I don't want to cause a big argument in here. So afterwards, we'll meet. We'll talk. And then I'll either learn something or you'll learn something. Yes, sir. Well, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the Church of Christ was the fastest growing church in the country. And what did we do back then? We taught the truth, nothing but the truth. We did not make apologies for what we taught. What have we done since then? Excuse me, I don't mean to offend you. We're scared of driving people away with our message. We are starting to apologize for teaching the truth. Is that what causes the mega churches? I think in a way, yes. It would be nice to have 20,000 people sitting in here. It wouldn't fit. It'd be a nice problem to have. Imagine, if you got 20,000 on a regular attendance, what would our contribution typically be? Probably $1 to $2, maybe $3 million a week, like these mega churches. But what happens? Don't they become greedier? We have to be really careful about this. Entertainment. Yeah. 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 Sometimes all it takes is one small little step, and you win a convert. You win somebody over. Yes, ma'am. Yep. That's it. That's. I think you hit on the key with a lot of American homes. Most homes have got a Bible. Almost every hotel room's got a Bible. I would ask you on a conservative note, how many Bibles in a hotel are ever read? And if you said more than 5, I'd be shocked. I would doubt that there's not a one being read. And that's just my feeling. Why don't we? Like Hazel said, we should study to show ourselves approved. That's the reason why we're in a Bible class. We're having discussion. Hopefully we see it from another person's point of view, and we get a different understanding. I never thought of it that way. Yes, that's a good analogy. It's a pass-fail course. You either pass it or you fail. There is no in between. Well, I'll give you some extra credit. There is no extra credit. You are either going to pass or you're going to fail. No, there isn't. And so, with that in mind, what kind of pressure do we put on our preachers to preach to us? I think what happens with a lot of these mega churches, the preachers have become entertainers. They become actors, and they are trying to get more people in, offend less people, and the only way they can do that is not preach the truth, not teach us the hard stuff. There's a lot of hard things we need to know. And if it offends you, I'm sorry. Pardon? Oh, yes, it is. There's lots of it there. And, it's just like if you watch TV anymore, any kind of shows that you watch, there's going to be homosexuals and gays, lesbians. It's filled with it. Who do we talk to on our news forecast? They talk to the athletes, actors, and actresses. Every one of them been divorced and remarried at least 3 to 5, 10 times. Yeah, they're gay. Yeah, and they got 9 kids. I mean, because they have money, because they are strong, they have got an athletic body, we tend to give them that privilege of telling us what we should do. I don't either. I mean, it's so hard, and I think you would all agree, if you take a look at everything that's on TV, that's just about the way. That's our news programs too. They are influencing you to think different and accept things that are not true because they're selling you something. Mhm. I know when I taught down there at Arlington Christian Schools, part of GACS, the reason why Arlington broke away from GACS is supposedly that Arlington accumulated the tuition for the year was something like $150,000. They sent it to GACS, and then GACS determined how much money we got back. We got back less than half that money back to maintain our school, pay our teacher salaries. That was whoa. Meanwhile, they were building and enhancing everything at GACS. While I taught there, I would say safely 40% of the students we had at Arlington were Salvation Army kids. 40%. That was the deal we had with them. Is that now, whether you know it or not, Salvation Army is a religion. It's a church. Well, when you see this and you understand this, one of the teachers there, supposedly a deacon in the church right there in Fairburn, Every summer he went and he worked with John Clayton in Indiana. John Clayton had been an atheist, and he wrote the book, Is God Alive? It's a good book, but everything in it he comes at from an earth science point of view. He believes in evolution, the wrong kind. I mean, I believe in evolution, the right kind, micro. Am I taller than my parents? Yes. I don't have as much hair as my dad did, but we are a different generation. We're healthier, so to speak. We live better. We live longer, supposedly. Now, those kind of evolutions, they're micro, really micro. That does happen. But no. Mm-hmm. No, 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 no. It's like I said last week, God made the world. Now, I think, he could have done it any way he wanted to. He made oil deposits. He put these huge dinosaur bones wherever he wanted to confuse man. And we just jump at that opportunity and welcome it. We've got all these evolutionists, supposedly very learned, very smart people, telling us what we need to believe because they have got the degrees to back them up. The same people. That's who taught them. People who don't want to accept this. Pardon? That's it. And I think that's the reason why I'm sort of I guess, a rebel in a way. I don't like to see a lot of our preachers going to get doctorate. I think all they need is a regular degree, if that much. Because there's a lot of them that know this Bible inside and out and have never been to school. I don't need an entertainer. I need somebody to tell me the truth, to point me where I need to go. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And I think you could say that in just about every church that the Church of Christ has throughout the country. That once the preacher gets his PhD, he moves on because he can't stay there any longer. Well, it's like I say, the more advanced the degree, the more you know about less. Because you have to specialize. Mm-hmm. Well, see, it's just like, okay, so I've got 2 master's degrees. I'm bored talking with you because you don't have my education. So I sit here, yeah, okay, now let's move on. And totally ignore you. And I have a feeling we do those kind of things. And you're right. Uh, it's hard to listen to others when you've already got your opinion. When we are engaged in the conversation, we're so busy trying to think of what we're going to say, we don't listen to what they are saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why there's a few denominations that don't want you to bring this book, because they'll tell you what they want you to believe. They'll tell you what they want you to do. They don't want you reading what the truth is. They don't want you to understand the truth. They want you to understand the truth as they want you to have it. That way you become a follower, a sheep of their group and their belief. Well, it's just like what you read there in starting in chapter 2. When I came to you, brothers, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and with much trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with the demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on man's wisdom, but on God's power. When you hear some people sit there and say, I can never teach a class. Why? Do you know the Bible? Are you willing to study? Yes. Well, if you can. I know one church, when I was stationed in Kansas City, right outside the post there at Fort Leavenworth, there was a small church. Met, okay. I usually like to sit in the back. I'm a little bit big. I block people's view. When I sing, I notice the notes go up, so my voice gets higher. When the notes come down, my voice goes lower. That's all I know about singing. But I know I'm commanded to sing. So I attended this church. And I noticed I usually sit right back there. And right in front of me, 2 rows up, this one farmer. I say farmer because he wore bib overalls. And they had been washed, I would say, conservatively 3,000 or 4,000 times. His wife had an old print type dress. And it had been washed 3,000 or 4,000 times. They had 2 little kids with them. The next week, 2 different kids. And so, wait a minute, what's going on? Oh, grandkids, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. He's got the grandkids for the evening. Okay, and the next week, 2 more. Okay, now this is getting a little funny. The guy had a hearing aid. Sitting 2 rows behind him and listening to him sing, he was horrible. His voice cracked and broke in every which way. And this went on for 5 or 6 weeks. And boy, I mean, it was hurting my ears to listen to him. Then one Sunday night, come in, sitting there, and then all of a sudden he gets up, walks up to the front, 172, and he starts singing. He was the song leader. But then that's when I got ashamed. I looked at him. I saw that he was singing to God. You should have seen the joy on his face. He was singing to God. None of us mattered. He didn't care. And that's when I'll tell you, I blushed. I was ashamed of myself because I couldn't tell you. I mean, that happens. I know, I'll admit, when I was there at Macklin Road, one time I was in charge of worship. I felt like Moses. When I walked into the auditorium, the men disappeared. They got to wait because they know I'm looking for opening prayer, closing prayer, and the 16 people on the table, announcements, everything. One time the elders had a singing workshop down in Macon, and they sent all our singers down there. So here, I'm trying to get everybody together, and I can't get anybody. Guys, I were asking, can you lead opening prayer? No, I gotta go. And things like this were going on. Everybody I asked. So that morning, I did announcements. I read the scripture. I had opening prayer. I headed the table, and I had closing prayer. And I led singing. Now, I know what happens afterwards. the women come up and, Larry, you did a great job. You did a great job. I appreciate it. But no, I didn't. My voice was bad. But they said it. And I'll tell you, being up there leading the song, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I got to sing the songs I like. I felt power. So I did that. And then, okay, on Wednesday night, I'd led singing again. Then a couple of ladies come up, Larry, you know, we got some talented singers in our group. Then the truth came out, finally. They finally told me. And I have never led singing since, and I don't like doing it. But isn't it funny how we sit there and we say, I can't do anything. You can do anything you want to. Christ will strengthen you. We just need to accept that idea. Paul was not wise. He's not eloquent in speech. He doesn't practice every day, so he gets up here and every word is so rehearsed that it comes off so smooth. I'm not that way. I study. I know what I want to say. I get up, and sometimes I forget what I'm going to say. Other times I remember things I don't want to say. We all can do it. And I say the clock says it's time. I appreciate your comments. Hopefully, you know, you are thinking, wait a minute, I don't know about that. Go home and study. See if I'm right or not. And if I'm not, please tell me. Thank you.